It's over. The much alluded to looming housing market crash has come and gone. I would say without much ado, but there was actually quite a bit of drama and talk, and just a few people who actually noticed that the bottoming out was happening while it happened. The crash that was going to be the end-all be-all of us all. The crash that has been hanging over our heads for years, even years before the pandemic when folks back then thought prices were too high. There has been heightened fuss and concern about this upcoming crash for years. And this week, Bloomberg published an article that we are back on the upswing. They didn't call it a crash per se. They used the words severe contraction. But regardless, I am very excited for all of you to share with your people this weekend that they survived. Share this with your friends and family members who have been concerned about us, that we survived the housing crash. Do you think I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit? Well, let's see. Let's look at the numbers. I think we've already bottomed out because we did see a time when prices were dropping, when buyers had a lot of negotiating powers, when you could do a 3-2-1 buy down. Then it fizzled, right? And we could only get enough money for a 2-1 buy down, and then we couldn't ask for anything. We saw a time when demand had fizzled, and we don't see that anymore. I am personally experiencing and noticing with my clients less negotiating power for buyers as interest rates come back down. The data also shows significant week-over-week increases in mortgage applications. This means that even the slightest improvement in affordability through interest rates brings tons of buyers back to the market, which we were expecting, especially if you've been watching these updates. So this is a key indicator that we are ticking back up. We are headed back up in real estate activity. Interest rates have peaked, and even the Fed rate hikes might be coming to an end. There's speculation that next week's rate hike might be the last one, and it wouldn't be unrealistic to bet that it's only going to be 25 basis points. There's also some pretty important upticks in other housing data. New home sales were up 9.3% in March. That's the highest they've been in 13 months. Even new construction projects are trending up now. Resales aren't too hot, but we know that's likely because a lot of homeowners feel trapped in their interest rate and aren't selling their home even if they want to. I should clarify, though, that even when I say that existing home sales are not too hot, they're still up 11% if you compare March to January. CoreLogic was predicting that in February of this year, we would see a little bit less than a 1% drop in prices. Instead, the Case-Shiller Price Index showed a teeny tiny increase in all 20 cities that they surveyed. So I'm actually not being outlandish for once when I say that the housing market has bottomed and we're on our way up. We crashed, and now prices are ticking back up. In fact, some people are now looking to the real estate market to save America from a hard landing or what you would call a recession. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if the housing market can save us from a full-blown recession, but let's look at this. Back in 2007, an economist named Edward Leamer wrote a paper titled, "Housing is the Business Cycle." And he directed us to watch housing as the best forward-looking indicator of the economic cycle and whether or not we're headed towards a recession. While housing is, of course, part of the GDP, he explained that even though it's only 4.6% of the GDP growth that he observed from 1947 to 2007, only 4.6% of that was from residential investment. He also pointed out that if you look at the other side of this coin, if you look at the years directly preceding a recession, housing weakness was a critical indicator. It was 26% of economic weakness in the year before 8 of the last recessions. So the fact that we're not seeing housing weakness right now, that we're actually seeing building strength in our industry, could be the reason that the housing market bails out the entire U.S. economy. In these market updates, I've been telling you guys to watch the labor market closely because it's remained remarkably, even oddly, as we've sometimes dissected in the data, strong despite a year of aggressive rate hikes. This is probably the only remaining risk to housing because as long as people stay in their jobs, the majority of the country remains employed, able to make their mortgage payments and able to buy and sell real estate, I believe we really are, all jokes aside, pretty much out of the woods when it comes to a housing crash. In other news, many of you are familiar with the fundraising event that I put on twice a year called The Future is Female. Traditionally, it would be a panel of investors, and they would share their stories because they were all very different, and their tips and tricks to get involved with real estate investing that literally anyone can do, that it's accessible to everyone. And we would share that through these real life stories of our panelists. And it was always very inspiring. The evening always left everyone buzzing, and we also raised quite a bit of money for the Women and Children's Center of the Sierra. So the Future is Female has been an event by women to educate and empower women while benefiting local women. The only pitfall was that while we'd get everybody jazzed and inspired and motivated to learn more about real estate investing, we kind of left them on a cliffhanger in terms of like next steps and what to actually do. Well, we're changing that. The upcoming event on May 18th will start with that same motivational panel to get you all fired up, but then we're going to dive into workshops to give you the tacticals and the how-tos and the next steps for what you can do now that you're all excited about real estate investing. And we've included some time to network so that you can ask questions to the panelists and the other speakers and build, start putting together your real estate power team. Typically, the event also takes place at my Broad Out office, but it's getting an upgrade on that front too. We'll be at the beautiful Virgil, Thursday, May 18th from 2 to 6 p.m. Though you can actually join us virtually from anywhere. So you should get a ticket even if you're not here locally or you're not available that day. I hope to see all of you there, whether you pee standing up or sitting down, because this event really is for everyone and it's a cause that everyone can get behind. You can really feel good about supporting this charity. I've done research on them and I know they're doing amazing things in our community. So I'll put the link below for you to grab a ticket. Again, 100% of the proceeds of the ticket sales go to the Women and Children's Center of the Sierra. So I'll see you there.